How are we? Welcome along. It is another conversation. Andy Ward presents. I'm loving these Thursday afternoons, live and direct from the Costa Blanca. And today we are going all the way to rock and roll London. I'm talking to a gentleman that is known and loved around the world. He's got a story to tell. And as always, I invite anybody that's with me live to leave any comments or throw up any questions that the conversation may provide. And if you are watching back on YouTube, I ask you to leave a comment and make my guest feel loved. I say good afternoon to Arkin, aka Jonesy, aka Cafe432. How are you, man? You all right?
I'm very well, brother. Thank you.
Good.
Thanks for having me, man. It's appreciated.
It's my pleasure. Now, I'm just looking at myself on the camera. I want to move my microphone. And we were just having a conversation offline. I got to give a shout out to Original Casuals because this T-shirt's looking mighty fine. Share the love. Cheeky off on this Easter bank holiday.
Nice.
What do you reckon? Mitsubishi. Right now.
That's what it is.
Yeah, a little Mitsubishi, whatever that is. It's a brand of a car, I think.
I have no idea. I have no idea what it is. It's a car, right?
It is a car. So I've started talking. I just need to make sure that I can see when anybody is joining us live, if they have any questions. And yes, we're all good. We're rocking and rolling. For some reason, my computer seems to be hanging. So let me just close a few windows down. And you're all good. You haven't got loads of things going on your computer, have you?
No.
I think we're good. We're all good. So, Mr. Jonesy, how do you prefer to be addressed?
This is a bone of contention with a lot of people. I have a lot of friends saying to me, bloody hell, like, what is your name? How do you want to, how do we introduce you? How do we talk to you? Normally, Mr. Jones is the old name. Jonesy is the nickname of the old name. Okay. So if anyone says to me, hey, Jonesy or Mr. Jones, I know they're from the music industry and they've known me a long time. That's it. Arkin, you must probably know me personally. If that's how you know me. And then obviously Cafe432 is just a new artist. Well, not a new artist, name's about 10 years old now. So yeah, it can be some confusion if someone said to somebody, do you know Jonesy?
How do you introduce yourself to people that you meet for the first time? That's the easiest way to ask.
Most people call me Jonesy.
Okay.
That
wasn't the question that I asked. No. How do you introduce yourself to people you meet for the first time?
City I've met them in. It depends. If I'm in a club, if it's level, I'd say Arkin. Mm-hmm. Really. So that's it. So it is the name has been. I've had a few people say to me, "What the hell are you doing? You've got too many names." But I just say so to other people. So it's all right. I get away with it. Hi.
Right. So, Arkin, it's going to be then for the benefit of the interview.
Well, I've known you long enough.
There you go.
And so
30 plus years. Okay. I just was making sure I think I keep saying this. I think I need a new computer because I'm doing the same thing that I've always done, and it's starting to grind a little bit when I begin. So that's my excuse to the wife anyway, right? So a shout out to
you need a new computer.
Yeah. Of course. She's the one with the purse strings. Shout out to Pugwash. Shout out to Pax. They're watching, so I can see that we have got people, and I know it's all working fine. You've shared the link out. The whole purpose of today's conversation is to find out about yourself, one of the mainstays on the London Underground circuit, also enjoyed stints across Europe and beyond. Currently enjoying a resurgence, a revitalisation. You just touched on the fact that Cafe432 isn't a name that's just surfaced. However, I think you'll be the first to agree. You are enjoying a huge bout of popularity right now. So I want to find out how we got there and why you believe you're top of the pile. All right? We can do that, can't we?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because it all it's a culmination of things. You don't just start making music and then you appear all of a sudden. There's a lot of background work going on all the time.
Indeed.
It's continuous. And I think it's a combination of things that helps you get to wherever you want to get to. I've got no I didn't set out to go, right, I need to do this. I just feel like music's in my blood. It has been from childhood. Can't get away from it. It's never going to make you rich. But it's a dying passion that for some reason you can never let go of it. You never let go of it. You know, I prioritize making music above and beyond other things, which I shouldn't do. But, you know, it's a passion and it's a love. So if you're not successful, you just keep going, and success ain't going to stop you doing it, you know. So one way or another, you just keep going. So I'll live and die being involved in music one way or another. So whether it's detrimental to my health or beneficial, I don't care. I love it. So you know,
as a small band from my hometown once said, it's a labour of love, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's go back. Chris, good afternoon, mate. Nice to have you. Chris Haynes joins us off the back of your link arcing. So it is working. It is working.
Yeah.
Right then, I'll begin by sending a shout out to Mr. Danny Foster, who said that you are the Benjamin Button of house music. And to look at you, I agree with him, because you look... 25.
Can I give him the bird? Can I just give him the bird? Like, that's for you, Dan, right? Sitting there wondering, like, how am I going to cuss him today? And I thought, you know what? Let's let him have his moment. It's all right, you know.
Beautiful. Well, I wanted to bring that up because it will enable me to ask you. You're not 25. You're much older. Tell us where you were born, when you were born, and what life was like, you know, between the ages of 5 and 15 for you. Give us a quick
Well, I was born
check.
London, so I'm 53. I mean, a lot of people don't believe I'm 53 when I tell them, but I am 53. I was born 70, grew up in North London, Holloway area, Palmer's Green. Suffered a lot of discrimination back then as well, I think.
Just clarify your heritage.
Yeah, so my parents are from Cyprus. They're Turkish Cypriot. The lineage is from Cyprus as well. You know, we don't have any relatives from Turkey, because there's always this misconception that Cyprus Turks are from Turkey or something, and that's not the case. We are Cypriot Turks. And like I said, I was born London, grew up in London, and I've only ever been to Cyprus, I think, about 5 or 6 times in my life, you know. But I grew up with a very mixed bag of family. Like my first cousins as we were growing up, we had Jewish first cousins, half English Jewish first cousins, Greek, Jamaican, Irish. So there's a very multicultural family and kids that we grew up with. It's quite unusual. So then I went to a Church of England school, meant to be a Muslim by default, because Turkish Cypriots by default are Muslim. So I went to a Church of England school. So you can imagine how messed up the growing up was, you know, as a kid. But yeah, it's you know, I had a good childhood. It was all right. It was good.
Without glamorizing it. Sorry, without glamorizing it, did that mean that you had to be a little bit tasty at times?
Oh, all the time. Like it was quite rough, to be honest with you. From a street point of view, it was quite rough. Like I said, racial discrimination, it was not just, you know, people sometimes say, oh, black people suffer racial discrimination. You'd be a foreign kid in London in the 70s growing up, 80s as well, early 80s. It was pretty bad, you know, getting mugged, beaten up by skinheads, just getting attacked for no reason, just because you're Mediterranean or, you know, you've got a slightly olive skin color or something. We had all that. And that made us, you know, we had to learn to look after ourselves. Hence why you're in the gym, hence why you're learning kickboxing or some kind of martial art, just to be able to, you know, try and look after yourself, because the streets are a little pretty nasty back then, I think.
Yeah.
Nowadays they're pretty nasty, but, you know, with the technology and the cameras and everything else, people get caught and stuff. Like back then, it was just, you know, we were getting mugged all the time. It's just, you know, it's just how it was. It was quite normal, actually. It's quite normal.
Okay, yeah. Shout out to Emily, to Richard Leader, and to Jodie Stewart as well. She says, hola.
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Okay, so where does music, hit you right between the eyes then? What's the first thing? You mentioned about skinheads. You're the same age as me. You know, we went through the muds, the ska, the two-tone, all of that kind of, you know, the reggae sound systems.
I mean, my experience of music, where I first realised that I have a passion for music, was from childhood. Age of 7, parents had this awful console in the guest room, you know, because obviously you had the living room and you had this guest room, and in this guest room was this kind of this console where you slide back one of the doors and there's the record player, and then underneath it had this mono speakers, one big speaker, which was you know, listening to it now, it probably sounds really shit, and then it holds a few records. So we used to play records back then, whether it was Boney M or whether it was, you know, parents' taste was and family members, etc. And I remember we used to play music when we had parties and stuff, and everyone used to pull around and get drunk, and it's like the older family members. And this is as kids. And I remember the first record I ever bought was asking my mum to take to Our Price. You know, remember Our Price? That's where we went and bought our music from. And it was Diana Ross, My Old Piano, on a 7-inch, which I still have today. And I think it was 1977 or 78. And then obviously the Bob Marley stuff, the Master Blaster, etc. All these kind of tracks that we used to buy, but it's all quite commercial. And then I had a hi-fi or rack. Well, it was a hi-fi, you know, the all-in-ones in the bedrooms, recording radio shows, pausing, recording, all that crap, trying to, you know, get music and then go and buy music and that, and just got this old record collection from childhood, and always had a turntable of some sort in our bedroom. I mean, for us, that was normal. It's like what the kids have today is on their phone.
Well, I do know. I know you have a younger brother, but I'm not sure of however.
I have an older brother as well.
That's what I was about to ask.
Yeah,
you have
3.5 years on me, so that was an influence as well, because you're listening to music that you're not privy to as a youngster, but obviously he's into music and stuff as well, so you learn from your older sibling as well, so you get influenced, you know, in that way. So yeah, so it was good times. My music was good. We used to buy records, you know, and that record thing was predominant throughout my life, all the way up until I think when they decided they want to bring out CDs. Yeah.
How strict were your parents with regards to you going out? I mean, we'll get onto when you start proper going out, but when you're
what age are you talking about?
When you're 13, 14, are you like cheeky drinks and stuff like that on the streets, or no chance?
Listen, I was bad news. I was bad news. I in fact remember we used to hang out in the park, and we used to go and buy beers. Don't ask how, we were underage, but somehow, you know, the off license, they'll send you single cigarettes as a kid. You know, they'll sell you beer, they'll sell you anything. So we get a bag of beer and walk the streets listening for music, you know, and then gate crash a party. That was our weekends, you know. It was pretty bad. But we used to hang out in the park a lot and have parties in the park, which was a bit wild. And then, you know, the police would raid the park, we'd all run, all that kind of stuff. So that was, that was like every weekend. We used to go out and drink, you know, and stuff.
And then around that time, then the breakdancing appears.
Oh, well, the lino and the electro 1, 2, 3, all that series, everything, body popping in the, you know, the shopping malls and wherever else you can stick your lino that someone carried around with them, you know. Yeah, lived through that as well. It was big at school, you know, because the school hall was always, the floor in the school hall was perfect, you know. I never mastered windmill very well either. Like, that was the one thing. I don't know whether because it was my height or my build or whatever, but you used to get stuck in and do quite a bit. But it was fun. It was fun times. And also the fashion was fun as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, completely.
You know, with Sergio Tacchini, splitting your jeans, all that kind of stuff. Theodora, Gabici, all that kind of, you know, the clothes that we used to have as teens as well. Like, a lot of it's still around today, funnily enough.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're preaching to the converted here. Everyone that we're talking to is with us all the way along this journey, but it's nice to reminisce about it.
Yeah,
I mean, we you know, someone who doesn't look too dissimilar to you. I'm not sure if you're friends with him actually after business. You know, that's what you're talking about. Those times, right? from back then, from all those garms. Charlie Favel, she's saying desert boots as well. Hassan, GC, good afternoon, mate. Black Wax as well, just giving shouts out to everybody. And no one's mentioned the Farahs, of course. Do you know what I mean?
Farahs, yeah. I even split my Farahs, believe it or not. I'd split them as well. There's nothing I didn't split. You know, we had the soul belt. Remember, it used to go over, flip over, come down the front.
Yeah.
You know,
we called them
the three-coloured Galini tops.
We called those jazz funk belts in Birmingham with the pinstripe down the side of your jeans as well.
Yeah,
but that was a little bit before
one stage. I think we used to tuck your Farahs into these suede kind of like, just think about it, it's madness. But I mean, I found a picture of me the other day, 11 years old on a coach on a trip, wearing a Fred Perry V-neck and a pair of Ray-Ban aviators in gold. I'm 11. This is 1981. Wow. You know, fashion victims from such a young age, but you know, beautiful times though.
I've never heard you, or maybe you have, but not being a big football person myself, it's never stuck to me. Do you have allegiances to Arsenal?
I'm a Scouse.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Or maybe.
No, sorry, is that disappointing? That face.
No. I'm just.
No, I've always been a Scouse from childhood. Scouse.
Okay. I'm just thinking if I've ever seen you and Spoonie having those kind of banters, but maybe not.
Yeah, he's a fellow Scouse as well. We're all aware of each other. The rest is just Arsenal and Spurs who just like fight and argue all the time. You know, we just look down at both of them and think, if only.
If only. Right. Well, all the shouts and all the chats coming in.
Shouts everyone, by the way, joining us.
I'll get through those in a little while. So we touched on, you know, the same old story that I say the same old. I don't mean to make it sound so insignificant because it was everything, wasn't it? At what point do you think, you know what, I want to play music out and about. I want to be the centre of attention. Or are we way away from that happening?
I think what made me get into DJing, I think it all came about. How can I say? Look, I started clubbing at a young age.
Okay.
You know, I found myself in Jacqueline's in Wardour Street at the age of 17. Don't ask how or why they liked young boys in clubs in West End at the time. But when I look back at it, I was like, why did they like young boys in the clubs in West End at the time? And I'm like, you know, 16, 17, we're in clubs, you know, and you get to know everyone. It was a bit strange. I mean, that's where I met Carl Tuffenoff Brown, because he was a resident at Jacqueline's in the mid 80s onwards. And then I think the acid came around and we found ourselves in Camden Palace and stuff like that. I think it was 87, 88. And then The Summer of Love is the one. And remember, I'm a record collector. You know, I'm buying this music that I'm hearing. We didn't have Shazam, but at the time, a lot of the time in the clubs, you was hearing like all the latest music and the radio stations and stuff. So I've always been a record collector. And I think 89, I was with Fenn, DJ Fenn from Ramsey and Fenn. And we're at a petrol station in Southgate. I had no idea where we were going. I mean, these are the days when I'd go out and not go home for 2-3 days, right? It was that kind of thing. And bumped into some guy and he said, well, where are you going? And he was wearing a bum bag and a tie-dye T-shirt and, you know, these pink jogging bottoms or something, and Adidas torsion. That's it. He looked a bit freaky, you know, and there's us talking to him at the petrol station. Go, what are you doing tonight? And he's going, I'm going Sunrise or something, or I can't remember which one. No, tell a lie, it was before that. It was in a ballroom in Slough. And he said, come. So I said, all right, then we'll go. So we went and we ended up in this ballroom. Everyone's off their tits on ease and everything. And it was mad because I just had people come up going, all right, where are you from? And there's the American house sound, you know, those track that we got today, which are worth money, you know. And that was the beginning of The Summer of Love. I think it was either 88 or 89, early 89. And then that was it. Started getting into this sound. And started going out every week. And then on the way home, you're looking at some newspaper and it's talking about 5,000 kids in a field. It's where we just were. This is where we were, sort of thing. So that was, I remember Adamski. You know, we're out in a field, never seen a laser before. And it was like slightly drizzling. It was bang in the middle of summer. It was 89. And Adamski's come out on stage. You know, it's 3 lorries, you know, 3 40-foot lorries, you know, one open full of speakers one side, one open full of speakers the other side, and in the middle's the DJ, the stage and everything. I remember just standing there like, it's 4 a.m. or something like that. And it's slightly drizzling. This fucking laser beam comes shooting out, opens up, and starts dancing in the sky. And there's like thousands of people just having it. I was saying, fucking hell, what, you know, it was mad. It was crazy times. And yeah, you know, I went and bought Adamski's album, you know, which still got, et cetera, like, so it was kind of like I was partying and at the same time collecting the music and just falling in love with what was happening. You know, it's like the modern day Woodstock, you know, what they were doing in the 70s, the hippies, we were doing again, but obviously with electronic music. And I think after that, I think can't remember, it's about 90 or 91. You know, we've had a good couple of years of this rave scene. And was it after the Marchioness disaster? Mm-hmm. You know, I got friends who they lost on the Marchioness. And I think they introduced, and then there was Leah Betts.
Well, just to be, in case anyone's not aware, Marchioness, there was a party on the Thames and it catch fire or it just sank?
I don't listen. All I know is it sank and everyone on board perished.
Everyone.
Yeah, I think it was like 30 something. No, not everyone. I think it was about 30 something people perished.
So a lot of fatalities.
Yeah, because I think when the rave scene was on and it was outside during the Summer of Love, the police had no idea what was going on. I remember listening to the Centre Force parked up somewhere in North London, listening to the radio, whether it was energy, biology, sunrise, you know, one of the big events, like we're waiting to find out where it is because we didn't know where the event, we didn't know where the venue was. We didn't know. So we was listening to the radio intently. And I say, right, everyone for energy, meet at Heston Services. And that was it. You know, you're off. You're driving to Heston. You've got the A to Z out because we ain't got the sat nav. You know, heading to Heston Services. And then as you're reaching Heston Services, you know, there's guys in these green high-vis jackets pulling up. Yeah, we're energy. And then we go, right, you've got to go down the road, like second right, drive, you know, 2 miles, you know, you come to a telephone box, you turn left and you go through these gates. So like, you know, and there's this convoys of cars just turning up. And the police are standing there going, what's going on? Like, you know,
because once so many people were plotted up, it was impossible for them to stop it, wasn't it?
But they had no law in place. I remember Lyd Airport, little old ladies coming out going, what is going on? You know, like there's just ravers everywhere. You know, I've seen the video of the Lyd Airport. I think it was Energy. People are dancing inside and they've got a bank of speakers outside. And the police, the local bobbies, because remember, these like almost like village town, like, you know, outside London places. And the police just like thinking, what the hell's going on? And there was no law. We can't stop you partying. And that's why I was saying about the Marchioness and then Leah Betts, the girl who died of ecstasy, even though ecstasy is one of the most safest drugs out of all the drugs on the spectrum, less deaths than anything else, less death than alcohol, cigarettes, yada, yada. They used that and the Marchioness disaster, etc., to bring out the criminal justice bill. And as soon as they had the criminal justice bill, the parties outside were over. You know, then it turned into licensing, entertainment licensing, etc. I don't know what the bill says. I think it's something like 3 people dancing around a system, sound system of some sort, confiscation order and fines for everybody. And that was it. 1991, I think, potentially was the end of that era of rave scenes, because after we started having the festivals, which are obviously the legal way of doing these outdoor events, so everything come piling back in to the clubs, didn't it? And I think that's where I was working in insurance brokers. Must have been about 1991. I was sitting there and this guy comes in and he's got this box with him. It says Technics across the front of the box. He says, I've got 2 Technics turntables, brand new, 400 quid for a pair. And I just like looked at my manager and I went, you got money in the till? And he goes, yeah, why? I said to him, I need about 300 quid. He said, for? Because I want to buy these turntables. I said, yeah, go on. He was a mate of mine from Cheshunt, Mark. He was like, I worked in this brokerage for a while with him. So I bought these Technics turntables. I didn't ask where they come from. I just bought them. And I went home and I set them up and I needed a mixer. So when I bought some, fucking God knows, everyone knows what it is. It's the worst mixer in the world. It's this. If I say the worst mixer in the world, I can't remember, Sound Lab or some crap. It was utter nonsense. It just sounded
Marantz or something.
No, it's bad. You'd recognise it if you saw it. It's one of the early days.
Mm-hmm. Realistic.
Oh yeah, something like that. That's it. Yeah, Tandy or some shops that was around at the time. So I set it up in my room, and that was it. I started living on the decks. Stopped me going out.
Mm-hmm.
I carried on buying house music. I was going to Music Power every week.
How were you technically with regards to beat matching?
Oh, I got in it quite quick. I was all right. You got no choice with Technics. You have to. And I think it was 92 or 93, I joined Freak FM. So, but I'd done the parties as well. I was doing the parties. I actually had a sound system. I remember, I was talking to my brother the other day. He actually reminded me, he goes, remember that snooker club? He goes, in Leighton, like at 5 a.m, we had to pack up. We went on for 2 days, this party. I hired my sound system to it. And packing up, and I'd done weddings. I had a friend who passed away recently. I'd done his wedding 30 years ago. So I was doing a little bit of commercial house. It was always house-based. Mm-hmm. It was more like commercial house, and then I got into the American stuff quite heavily. I think from 89 I got into the American stuff, and that's it. Just learned to DJ, got on a radio station. It was the worst time you could have had a radio show. It was a Sunday night from 12 till 2 a.m, just to get in there, just to get my foot in the door, And I think
remind us, because I've spoken to so many people down the years who were sort of like the kingpins on Freak at the time. Who were the main names?
Well, Freak, I think just trying to think back during the day, who did they have? I know Ramsey and Fenn was in there. It's funny actually, because we left Freak to start London Underground with Mikey. So it was me, Ramsey, Fenn, and I can't remember who else. I think it was a couple. So we set up London Underground, and I think that shuffle there was what gave EZ his opportunity as well, because EZ was a late night DJ at the time. And I think when Ramsey and Fenn, myself, and quite a few others left, it left a big hole on the Saturdays. And then EZ got, I think, Ramsey's show, and that was it. The rest was history for EZ after that. Because these stations, if you played on these stations, you had a prime time, you had a good prime time show. That was everything, because I think I was on, Richie Fingers. I was either on or after Richie Fingers. I think I was doing a 4 to 6 on a Saturday afternoon on London Underground, and that was 96. I think that was 96. I mean, we started Numb Numbs in 95. So going from doing mobile discos, I actually started my own club night, and I think I jacked my job in. I was working at a newspaper. And I thought, I'm going to jack my job in and I'm going to become a professional DJ. That was the plan.
DJ, promoter or DJ? What was the...
Well, I wanted to be a DJ. The promoting came not by accident, but I didn't really plan on being a promoter. It's just that I had a lot of people following me around, because that's the difference between being an old DJ and a young DJ. Young DJs normally has people who are happy to come and party at your events. When you get older, if I turn around to most of my mates and said, "Oh, what are you up to tonight?" They said, "Oh, fuck it, staying in, with the missus,
watching Love Island."
Exactly, yeah. But when we was younger, when I was like 24, 23, I had people follow me. We had a group of people. We could party. I remember walking into a pub in Muswell Hill. It was dead on a Sunday. I said to the guy, "Listen, I'll make a deal with you. I'll fill this up. Just give me 100 quid every week." He said, no problem. And then 2 weeks later, place is banged out. But he's had to hire security. He's so banged out. I asked him for 100 quid. He goes, oh, I've got to get security. I said, listen, you know I'm not going to come here next week if you don't pay me. And he said, well, I'll just get another DJ then. I said, all right. Mate, it was dead the following week. It's just how it was, you know, and that's, I think, how I managed to do the Numb Numbs event, was because we had this little core of people who are like, where you at? Where's the party? What are you doing?
Well,
and that's how we started.
You talk about a core of people. I'm watching some great conversations that are going on. Thank you all for communicating amongst yourselves. And we got young Mr. Williams, who's watching on YouTube as well. So we got to give a shout out to Colin, because he says, I was on London Underground in the early days. I was playing referee when most of you lot were arguing with each other.
He's right, because we used to have these, I think we had a few hotheads around us, you know. Big love, Cole, by the way. I love Cole. We had a lot of hotheads around. I think I was one of them. To be honest with you, I've got to confess, I was a little bit of a hothead. But I think it was a lot more people letting their emotions get the better of them. You know, there's a lot of ego and stuff. Oh, I'm better than, yeah, exactly. I'm better than so and so. So I remember Ramsey kicking off with the dream team. It was just hilarious, you know, just watching the squabbles. How comes they've got 3 shows? No, they've got 4 shows. They've got 3 of them got their own show each. It goes, and then they've got a show together. And it used to just kick off. You see it going, oh God, it was crazy. But you know, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, it was everyone doing their bit, which made this scene just grow. You know, and it wasn't a garage scene, as people, you know, the UK garage scene was actually later. You know, what Joe Public got to know as the garage scene in 97, 98, the glory days when it was massive. There was like 5 or 6 years of, you know, music developing, producers, DJs. Well, I did
a great conversation with Danny. We chuckled about him at the beginning of the show. He painted a great picture of the scene. Spoke to DJ Face, who painted a fantastic picture of the early scene. Yeah.
Gavin. Yeah.
Who else have I spoke? You know, or it's really documented. And for me, those glory days, doing our own thing in Birmingham as well, 94, 93 to 97 was like, that was the music beautiful. For me. Do you know what I mean?
The music was beautiful. Everything was beautiful about it. I think with anything, once it starts commercializing, and, you know, you get people get involved, like when the majors really started getting involved and started throwing money around and stuff, that's when it took things in different directions.
Yeah.
And you could be standing there going, I love what I'm doing. And there's people over there making loads of money out of the slight change, or the market appeal changed, or what the demographic that it appealed to changed. And the money got involved.
Although there were a lot of people who capitalized on the commercialism and still maintain their credibility and their authenticity.
Yeah, no, definitely. You know,
and who were able to take it and run with it. And then the rest of us who were still picking up scraps off the floor.
I can't complain. I mean, when I think back to the 90s, doing Numb Numbs, and as a DJ, I was doing 5 to 7 gigs a week in London. We had so many clubs. People don't realise. I think that's why we've got an older generation that's out, still raving hard, because that's what we did.
Yeah.
From a young age. You can go clubbing in London on a Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday. You'll find something, and it'll be packed. It'll always be packed. And we had loads of club nights. It was a whole industry, and it was rammed. It was packed. Whether it's hard house, garage, deep house, US, it doesn't matter. We had so many clubs in London. It was beautiful, but for some reason, I think after the millennium, it was the demise of the club scene.
Okay, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's bask in the glory of those golden days. You've mentioned Numb Numbs a few times. How did the name come about, and what is the most famous venue it was held at, and for how long?
Oh, Numb Numbs, I think the first one we ever done.
How did the name come about, first of all?
I think we're messing around, Fen. A few of us, we were just trying to think of a different name, and we're just throwing names around. Like the word numb was what came up first. for some reason or another. Maybe your T-shirt had something to do with it. I don't know. But the word numb came about, and then yeah, and then I think we just come up with Numb Numbs. And I remember working in the newspaper at the time, and
doing what in the newspaper?
What's that?
Doing what in the newspaper?
I was an advertising executive.
Okay.
You know, I was doing DJing part-time, like parties and stuff on the weekends, radio station. But at that time, I think 1994, I was in the newspaper. I used to work for Reed Elsevier. I was an advertising executive, field sales executive. Okay. I was good at what I did.
Selling ad space, selling column space.
Yeah, but for corporate ad space. Mm-hmm. So it was dealing with, you know, department stores and things like that, the big guns a little bit. It was all right, you know, I was doing well. But the thing was, I had this passion to just become a professional DJ. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what I wanted to do.
So let's go back to the naming. Hassan is saying, I remember the naming. Can you see all the comments? Have you got a list of the comments there? Save me reading them out to you.
Yeah, I've got some there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if not, I'll keep reading them out because some people are watching on YouTube, some are watching on Facebook. Right. So we touched on the name. Yeah.
So we come up with a name, and then I remember going to the art department in where I worked, and I said to them, "Can you do the typeset?" And Matt Jam, I think I met him somewhere. Dean Savon was at Music Power. He was working in Haringey at the time before they opened the Ilford one, and Dean was on Kiss FM at the time. And then Ramsey and Fenn, you know, I've known the guys for years. So it's me, Ramsey, Fenn, Matt Jam, Lamont, Dean Savon. Who was the other one? Jesus Christ. Can't remember. There's another DJ as well. Anyway, they'd done the typesetting for this flyer. I was dating some girl at the time. My brother had some graphics program, and he'd done some 3D rendering of the word Numb Numbs. It was shit, to be honest with you. But I remember him telling me how many hours it took him to render. It's the worst graphics you've ever seen. If I send it to you one day, you'll laugh. It was horrendous. He said to me, it took 7 hours to render that, you know. Because back then, obviously, everyone was still using Pentium PCs if you was lucky, or whatever it was. The computers were rubbish. So we'd done this flyer, and we were at the Gray's Inn. And, yeah, it was funny times because we started doing this, you know, and I jacked my job in, thinking I was going to be a, you know, promoted DJ, and I just ended up being broke for ages. You know, it was horrible. It was really bad. And yeah, we done the first event, and I think the capacity was 400. We had 100 people on the guest list. We needed 400 people to pay to break even, and we had 300 payers. So, you know, we got a kick in the teeth. We thought, yeah, it's great. You know, the two rules in promotion is a great party and making money. If you don't make money, if you've got a great party, you can still have another great. You can have another party. You get another crack at the whip. But if you don't make money and you don't have a good party, forget it. That's it. It's over. So we went second time. I think I was partners with a guy called Tim back then. The first two, and then Tim said he couldn't take it anymore, and he came out. And then Bill joined me for the third one, where we went to the EC1 club. And it was crazy. It was like absolutely crazy. And that was back then. I started getting phone calls from everyone who wanted to play, because in London, we had the Sunday scene, you know, after Ministry of Sound on a Saturday night that went on to 8, 9 in the morning. Then we had the Sunday scene. What I think we were kind of trying to achieve was almost like the Sunday scene on a Friday. And around that time, I think the only other people, I think you had Steve Gordon Twice as Nice, Mickey Bolgin, Lords of the Underground. Who else was there? Who was doing Friday stuff? Can't think off the top of my head. But there wasn't many, because it wasn't London was jungle and house. This underground scene that we had was a room 2. Yeah. And we were calling it like house and garage. That word UK garage didn't exist. It wasn't UK garage. That was coined later. I mean, anyone can tell you that. We never used the word UK garage. That was just later on.
Yeah, I think Norris said 99 2000 when it actually, really took hold, I think, when they did the UKG Awards, I think. And Colin can confirm, because I think he loves to remind me that he was the first person to buy and own the ukgarage.com,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. He got offered shitloads of money, I think, at one stage. I said, sell it. It was like, no, he just hung on to it. But I don't think he's ever done anything with it, have you, Cole? But yeah, so we started this once a month Friday party, and it got crazy. 200 people outside down the road, going on to 6 a.m. The place was heaving, playing predominantly American house and whatever was contributed by our British lads at the time, your Grant Nelsons, etc., who were remixing for the Americans. So a lot of stuff was coming in on import. And then you got Matt Jam making music, etc., a number of other lads. But anyway, we started doing this thing, and it was just this was a Friday night once a month, and we were out flying as well. We had a great flying team because we had all these youngsters around us who wanted to get involved. My brother was around us helping us, Hass, Jay Jr., Jez, a few other kids. They were like all contributing. So when we were out flying, I remember seeing the other promoters flying, because you've got to remember you had Flying Squad at the time. Mm-hmm. They were taking care more of the club division and that ITV club guide that they had on teletext, because this is before the internet, right? And we were just flying, and then people just start phoning me up saying like, who does your flying? We're like, we do it ourselves. Can you do our flying? So we started flying for others as well. I think it's about 96, coming in 97 maybe. We started flying for others. I remember getting this shrink wrap film, this bagging thing. We had a little team of people. We started to get flyers. Like we had put 10 flyers in, 20 flyers in, bag them up. And we set up this thing called Club Knowledge. And we were now flying for other clubs. We embraced the competition. People were doing exactly what we were doing, but it didn't bother me because I was now flying for them as well. And I kind of thought it's going to help the scene grow. And it did.
I forgot all about that.
It turned into a monster, the scene. It turned into an absolute monster. I mean, it turned against me in the end. Because, when you've got Carl Tough enough phoning up, hey, Mr. Jones, do you mind if you can, I'd like to play at Numb Numbs, and that's my Carl impression. So I've got all these DJs asking me to play, Spoonie asking me to play, because there wasn't these gigs. They didn't exist, And we went through everyone, whether it's, I've got Bobby and Steve come play, Norris come and played, Spoon, everyone. I just went through everybody. Like Numb Numbs, you had to play at Numb Numbs. It was one of those events, as well as, because remember, look, I'm not talking about the Sunday thing. The Sunday thing took care of itself. The Gas Club, all that kind of stuff that was going on. That was Sunday. We knew that was happening. This was something else. This was like a Friday night thing. Not. We didn't even have things on Saturday night because the clubs just weren't interested in what we were doing.
Yeah.
Yet. Yeah. Came later.
It's funny when you say that, and then the arc, forgive the pun, the arc of the way that it went, the interest, it was like down here, then it peaked.
Yeah.
But
if I remember rightly, the jungle scene was quite predominant. Mm-hmm. But with the jungle scene, I mean, this is why we found loads of MCs come over from the jungle scene, was because I think, if I remember rightly, as Operation Trident started shutting down the jungle scene events. And when they shut down the jungle scene events, we had a lot of MCs who performed at these jungle events no longer performing at jungle events, because my thing was I just had a host. We were playing vocals and stuff, and it was house, and we didn't really have the MC thing. And then I think after the jungle scene's demise, because of events being locked off by the police, we saw this influx of MCs coming over and the influence into that house scene. And it wasn't going to be long before we had an MC-based garage track. And I think the boys had the number one. With Creed, and there was a number of others on there as well. DT,
Good Rhymes. Good Rhymes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think, was that 97?
Yeah, off the top of the cuff. I was there for the video. I'm actually, you were there. We were at the, when they did the video, and they've got all our faces on the CD, or with the headphones on. on the
But
CD
I don't even know if I was on. I know there's a lot of faces on there. Yeah, because everyone who was in the garage scene at the time.
I was assuming you was on there. I'm on.
I have no idea, mate. I find memorabilia. I mean, I remember when was it Charlie Brown?
Was that not 99? Was that 97? The Click. Good.
I think it was 97, 98. No.
Wow. Go on, carry on talking anyway. Yeah, I can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, Numb Numbs was it was just growing. You know, the highlight for me was, I think it was the 3rd birthday bash that we'd done at Camden Palace, which is now Coco. You know, 2,500 people there. Place was mobbed, and we still had about 500 people outside.
No, it was 99 Good Rhymes.
Yeah, 99. So probably, it was later.
But late 98 into 99.
Yeah. But
we were talking
the two-step thing obviously influenced what we were doing.
Let me ask you, because we touched on it earlier as we were paying respects to Timmy Ramjam, who we lost recently. And you said that you'd been talking with him initially. Tell us that story, and where does that fall into the timeline? That's
the Timmy Ramjam thing.
Yeah, we skipped over that.
Well,
right?
Timmy, God rest his soul, man. I remember when I used to do the EC1 club and it was mobbed, and I remember Timmy hit me up and he said, "Listen, we've got a brand new club." He said, "You've got to come down here. It's got a swimming pool." I was like, "What? Swimming pool?" He said, "Yeah, and it's in the city." I was like, "Okay." So I went down there. I was like, "Fucking hell, this club's got a swimming pool in it." Like, it freaked me out a bit because I was like, it stunk of chlorine, but you know, it's a swimming pool in a nightclub. He said, "Come do your venue. Come here, I'll give it to you. You'd be one of the first promoters in it." I was like, okay. Now, I remember the flyer as well. So we thought, okay. So we stopped doing at EC1 and Aquarium. He said to me the capacity was 500. And I remember that night, I said 400 people in the club. It's heaving. I had 200 people outside and they wouldn't let another soul in through the door. So I remember screaming at them, going, "You said I was looking at the click and the clicker says 400. I'm like, "My money's outside. What are you fucking doing?" I said, "You said to me I could have 500 people." And he was going, "No, license is 400. I was like, "Fucking what?" I was going, "I've come here to fucking get screwed." Da, da, da. You know, when you're looking at your money outside, you know, you really do. It's quite upsetting. And that was it. And then I left Aquarium and went back to the EC1 club. But it is what it is, you know. It is what it is. But he managed to convince me to get in there, you know. Obviously, not being good with contracts and stuff and agreements, you know. I should have had that in writing somewhere along the line instead of a handshake.
So we're kind of painting a picture of the scene, and as is going to be so very apparent, we're skipping over so many things. I'm sure.
It's deep and it's long and it's. Everyone's got their view. I mean, I've seen so many videos of the garage scene, how it started in a pub and all that. It's all like nonsense, a lot of it. You know, there's pockets of people doing their own thing, producers putting out music, stores selling it. It was happening everywhere. You know, there's small pockets of it happening everywhere. I don't think all these imports were being sold in London. You know, it was happening everywhere. But it's just like London had its thing. It was quite strong and powerful, and obviously it grows. It's like, again, we've got a resurgence, not resurgence, but we've got soulful house in other towns, you know. People doing things in other towns. So we've got our story.
You talk about other towns. We got up to sort of 99, 2000. There was a lot even going on before that. The 90s, I mean, the making of two-step, how that got involved, the MCs getting involved. Yeah, but I'm talking about because the story is kind of, we know the timeline, but your involvement within this. And I was about to ask you, I can't remember, how involved were you with Iron Appa?
Not very.
No.
I remember I met my partner Bill actually in 1994 in North Cyprus. I was playing Brighter Days in an outdoor venue and the door flew open to the DJ booth and he gave me a big kiss and he said to me, "Fucking hell, you're a good DJ," and then run back out again. He was slaughtered. And then that's how I got to know him. And he was a hairdresser, Bill, at the time for Vidal Sassoon. And here's a little story for you. So when we were doing the flyer packs, etc., That was 94 I met him, but 96, 95 is when we started Numb Numbs. I can't remember, 96 or something. Like, he told me he was a hairdresser at Revitalised. I went down there. He was learning to be a hairdresser. There's a big difference, right? And one day we've already started doing the flyer packs and we're doing Numb Numbs, and everything's going great. And one day he comes back from work and he goes to me, he goes, I cut this woman's hair today. And I said, yeah. He said, her name's Verity Jared. She's from Channel 5. I went, Channel 5? Yeah, because back then, we only had 4 channels. We didn't have internet. So Channel 5. I went, yeah, because we've got a new TV channel coming. I went, oi, ask her if we can have a meeting. He goes, what about it? I said, see if we can do a club guide on teletext. So we've already got club knowledge now, right? Doing the flyer packs. So I said to him, get this meeting going and we can see what they say. So he phoned her up and he said, my partner, he wants to talk to you about doing a club guide on Channel 5 tech service. So she said, yeah, when you come in, gave us an appointment to go and see her. So I remember just drafting this proposal, about what the idea was, the plan was. And we went down there. We had 3 of them from Channel 5, these execs sitting in front of us, and me and Bill. And I gave them this little proposal, and it was the concept, right? And I said to them, spoke about it. We said, demographic, it's the clubbers, and, we want to bring the clubbing scene to Channel 5. It's a big scene in London. I just sold them this thing. And they said, if you can excuse us. So the 3 of them went out and they came back and they said, we absolutely love what your plan is. And I was like, oh, okay. And she said, look, we have to do wholesale because that's what we do. So, obviously we sell these to news channels and different organizations. So she said, you'd have to take 10 pages. And I was like, all right. And I went, okay. So it's 10 pages a week. She said, we're going to charge you, I don't know, £500 it was. I don't know, it's 50 quid a page or something like that at the time. And I was like, okay. And I could feel myself going, fucking hell, I think we've landed a good one here. This is beautiful. And I remember as she shook our hands and she said, okay, what we'll do, just give us the start date. And I said, we need a really easy page number. And she's going, well, what do you suggest? And I said, I don't know, page 345. And she went, we'll look into it. And then they gave us page 345. They gave us the logo. And then it kicked off. But I remember walking out of that office and I turned around and I went, Verity, I said, is it regional, this club guide on teletext? And I said, is it like the Southeast or London? And she went, no, Arkin. She goes, it's national. And I went, oh, all right. I walked out of there. I swear I must have done the fucking moonwalk down the hallway. I think, fucking jeez. And that club guide, I tell you, we had like 35 clubs on rotation every week. It was amazing because it was like we had the club guide, we had the distribution, etc. It was really good. It was really good for us, and it was good for the scene as well because we had like Manchester. This
is the part of the movie where you're driving around in flash cars, you got the nice watch on, you got the sweet suits, drinking champagne, everything, you're riding high, right?
Beautiful. It was beautiful. It really was. It was like a license to print money. It really was, and we did. What we did, we were just making money. I remember our VAT bills were massive. We were running the Coliseum on a Friday night. Every Friday I was at Coliseum once a month. I was there. We took it out. We took Numb Numbs out into Essex, into Epping Forest Country Club. Then I took that over every Friday as well. Like we were spinning lots of money, man. Like the clubs were really busy back then. It was good. It was really good times.
Yeah, well, Chris Haynes says pimping in Birmingham. We would have said you were bathing.
Yeah.
So, okay. How does the story continue? There's a twist coming.
Twist, Jesus Christ! There's always twists. I think Listen, everything. One thing I learned about life is everything is temporary. Even our lives are temporary, but everything is absolutely temporary. If you're in a bad place, it's temporary. If you're in a great place, it's temporary. Like that. I understand now more than anything.
I was going to say, you understand now. You didn't have that wisdom.
No, back then, no. I think when I look at it, no one understood, because when the majors got involved, they were throwing some serious money around, like ridiculous money around for tracks and releases and stuff. You know, these tracks have been bubbling around on the scene for like a year and a half, and then getting picked up later. And the labels were just throwing huge money around, and promoting got more difficult. I think by 99 or 2000, whatever it was, I just found like phoning up the DJs and getting these new prices for DJing. You know, from paying him £100 to DJ for me, it's, you know, £650, £750, it's £800. I was like, how the hell am I going to put up a lineup of 7 great DJs? Because our lineup, we didn't have headliners back then. They would be classed today as all of them would be headliners in their own right, you know, but we'd have great music all night. And then now all of a sudden is my DJ bill is not like £800 at the end of the night. I got one DJ asking for £800. Mm-hmm. And I was like, where's the loyalty? You know, I started questioning what's going on. You're letting all these big organizations come in, hijack what we're doing. And when I say hijack what we're doing, we had a scene. It was thriving. You know, you had promoters doing, everyone knew each other. Everyone was cracking on with it. But it was when the money started flowing and started coming in, people were being bought out. And that's how it always works, right? So they're all getting bought out. They won't come and play for you because you don't want to pay them that kind of money. And it just became more and more difficult to promote and fill the clubs because there was more and more people doing what you was doing. But not only that, the scene has started to evolve and change, and the music was changing. And I think that's when I kind of I think by 97, I started getting disheartened, to be honest with you, with the actual music.
Well, our crowd, we haven't even touched on you producing yet, because you mentioned about Ramsey and Fenn. They've got their own label, which was a really huge outlet for tunes.
I started that label. That was my label.
You started that, forgive me.
That was my label, yeah. So, I was partners with Ramsey and Fenn and Bill at the time. So Bug Recordings, which everyone thinks was just Ramsey and Fenn's. No, there was some brains behind that as well. But, you know, it's one of those things.
Forgive me. That is a detail that had skipped my memory.
Not a lot of people, you know, look, I think some of us, we just do what we do and just get on with it, you know. But I do correct people when sometimes in history, people leave you out or people don't talk about you or, you know, you're not mentioned. I could tell you one later on. If ever we get, you know, if we talk about Tiny and my work with Tiny later, there was a big injustice for me at the time with another mix engineer who went around telling everyone he mixed Pass Out, etc., and you know claimed that he'd done this work when it wasn't him, it was me, and that's another story. So in time, I'm starting to learn that I need to correct people and give credit where credit's due.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. So
no, it isn't.
So that's good.
Bug Recordings we set up as well. That was, I think that was 97, 98 as well, around about the time.
Was that when it started? I thought it was way before then.
No, I think it's 97, 98, something like that. Okay. A lot of this was happening all at the same time. The flyer packs, the distribution company, the record label, the clubs. You know, it was constant. It was a lot of work going into it. Yeah, it was constant. It was absolutely constant.
Okay, so I kind of jumped in there because I was talking about, we hadn't spoke about you were starting to produce in the studio and enjoying what you were doing there. And a very quick analogy of where the scene went. I feel we were all clubbing from 90, 91, whatever. By 97, we're a little bit older. We need to start getting a bit more responsible. There's a new crowd coming through who have got outer influences as well, who eat more of that. I wouldn't even say darker by 97. It was, you know, the more the jungle sound and the drum and bass taking us back to the rave sound was creeping in as well. And the younger kids like that heavier bass lines and whatnot. But then by 99, 2000, that's when the streets really got involved. And then we were all like, nah, this isn't.
No, definitely. I mean, I was disheartened way before then.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was disheartened. I think more so when the two-step thing started happening. And I was kind of like, you know, when you're like kind of forced to play a certain way. Because, and I say this to people, look, you're going to sit there and say, this is the type of music I play, and that's all I'll play only this style. Then you're going to pigeon yourself only to those kind of events. But if you can bend a little bit and play in a slightly different style, you can open yourself up and play at more events because you're now flexible as a DJ.
But feel
you was like that yourself, right?
Yeah,
you was like that yourself.
But you feel empty, you'd feel a little bit empty inside doing some of those
absolutely.
gigs.
Yeah, I was like, oh God, do I have to play this tune? This shit. But you know, they want to hear it, you know, and you've got a copy that is rare as hen's teeth and you're playing it and they're going nuts and you think it's a load of shite. But, you know, it is what it is. But I think production-wise, when we set up the Bug label, I set up the recording studio as well. And I, at the time, not made a mistake because at the time, there's two ways to go. You can either sit with an engineer in a studio and the engineer will assist you in producing, or you want to be the engineer. Because people have got a misconception about a producer, right? They think producers do everything in the studio. Not at all. That's the misconception. A producer can sit back on his chair and not touch nothing, right? And he orchestrates the production. That's a producer. He doesn't have to play the piano. He doesn't have to play any keyboards. He doesn't have to touch any buttons. A producer doesn't have to do any of those things to be a producer. An engineer, however, is an engineer. A musician's a musician, you know? Programmer's a programmer. So I didn't go down that road. I was sitting in my studio with an Akai sampler. I mean, but this ain't the first taste of music production. My music production first came in 1992 when I was driving home at 3 a.m. and I bumped into an old school friend of mine called Rav. And I said to him, what's happening? He goes, oh, I just come back from AWOL. I said, what are you doing there? He goes, oh, I was just dropping off some jungle. I said, oh, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, I've got a studio. He goes, I make music. He said, come down. So I started going to his studio. You know, and back then I was like, wow. And that's how I got into the music production thing. And I started going AWOL with him and used to give dub plates to Mickey Finn, Kenny Ken, all them boys in AWOL. But room 2 in AWOL, so hang on a minute, I like this. I like what's going on in room 2 because that was the garage room. But that's how I got into music production. So I had this interest from that time and learning about sampling and then like looking it up and everything. And then when we built the studio, instead of me getting an engineer who knew exactly what he was doing, I sat there with a Akai manual learning how to use an Akai sampler, right? So Ramsey and Fenn are working with MJ Cole, an engineer, or whoever worked with an engineer, you're going to bring up whatever it is you need to bring up because the engineer knows exactly what he's doing. I was sitting there going, I want to be an engineer. I wanted to actually learn how to use this stuff, you know, not just sit there. Even though in 1998, I did make a track with MJ Cole. It's called Mad Changes. I found a DAT the other day. I must probably remaster it and put it out. But it only ever came out on vinyl. We were releasing tracks on vinyl. And then we split with the boys. I left. And then I actually they left the premises not long after where Bug Recordings was. And I actually went back there. And after I split with Bill, carved it all up, I actually bought the building and rebuilt the studios there to a professional level. And I was there for a few years. And I went back to where I came from, which was the house scene. And one day I had an office in West Green Road where we were doing the flyer packs and stuff. And my friend came, Mark Williams, and he was a homeboy hippie in a funky dread. And Mark goes, I split up with Dylan. I said, I split up with Ramsey and Fenn. It was really weird. And then we had a phone call. And it was Panos Liassi from Amen UK. Like, he's, you know, another producer. Like, got love for these guys, yeah? Known them years. Panos goes, what are you up to? I said, I split up with Ramsey and Fenn. was looking at half my equipment in this office, you know, and Mark's here, and he split up with his partner, Dylan. Panos goes, why don't you come down tomorrow, we'll make a track? I said, Mark, I said, he goes, my partner's away, his partner. So we decided the next day to go to this studio. And I remember Mark messing around with an Earth, Wind and Fire sample. And I said to him, listen, I ain't doing no hard house shit, because that's what they used to do. They used to make hard house. I said, I'm not doing any of that. So anyway, we're toying around. Anyway, Andrew was there, Andrew Toomey. We took the sample. I remember Mark chopping it up and then replaying it in a different way. And we made this house track come out quite good, quite happy with it. And the following week, I was in Miami. So I went to the Winter Music Conference. And in the 90s, the DJ that I got a lot of respect for was DJ Disciple, Dave Banks, right? Now, Dave was on the circuit in London at the time. And like, that's how I bumped into you quite a few times, didn't I? You know, bumped into you at Ministry of Sound. Like, you know, you get to know people by bumping into them at the gigs. So I got to know Dave, you know. And I remember going to the Winter Music Conference with 10 CDs that I burnt off. Yeah, don't laugh, people, with CDs. No one sent, never used to email anything to anyone. It's like, you know, maybe a file transfer, I think, a little bit later. But I went with these CDs. I think it was 99, actually. So it's around about March 99. And I see Dave Disciple at the Fontainebleau, where the Hilton Fontainebleau in Miami. And you're sitting at a table and he had this Walkman, you know, CD player. Got his headphones on. So Dave, what's happening? He goes, Jonesy, right? Cool, man. It's like chatting. I was, yeah, I haven't listened to that. Gave him this CD to put it in a CD player. Hey, man, this is dope. Yeah, I like it, man. Yeah. So that's cool. Left it with him. 2 weeks later, I mean, remember, this is after we split, yeah? So I've got no studio. I've got half the equipment sitting in the office. I'm thinking, fuck, what am I going to do? Right? I'm disheartened by the garage scene anyway. Fucking sick to death of where it's going. It's getting a bit messy, very political. Promoting's getting difficult.
Did you get involved? Did you get involved in the sit down between the old guard and the new guard, or had you gone by then? Colin would have been there. I'm not sure if that was 2000 or something. Do you remember that?
Yeah, you know what? By then, I think my heart was out of it. I'll be honest with you, and because I was like, house and garage, and what people think garage is. I mean, if you look at Garage City, that's what garage was. Yeah, for me, it's what we call soulful house music today, really. In you know, but the name was kind of like taken, and it means something different, you know. But anyway, so I've given this CD to Dave, and about 2 weeks later, I'm in my car, and turn on the radio. And this Friday night, I didn't know who it was. All I heard was the music was playing. Our track was playing. It was Radio 1. I was going, fucking hell. And then Dave Banks, like Disciple, he sent this one out to Mr. Jones, picked this one out at the Miami Winter Music Conference. This is D-Funk, Pleasure, Love, yada, yada. I was like, wow, it's on the fucking radio. He's playing my tune. And then Pete Tong, it was his radio show. Now, if you had a tune played on Pete Tong's radio show back then, and you ain't got a record deal, you're going to get a record deal. And that's exactly what happened. You know, so I can't remember his name, the agent, Dave or something. Whatever his name was, his second name, I called it Add a Zero. Because he said to us he's got a record deal, about 10 grand with Wonder Boy or something. And then it was 12 grand with Manifesto. And then it was 15 grand with blah, blah. And this just went up and up. And then in the end, we got signed to Sony. Incredible. Gave us 35,000 for this track that we made in the day.
So just repeat the exact artist and title.
So it's D-Funk. And the track entitled is Pleasure, Love.
Okay. And
we used an Earth, Wind and Fire sample. I mean, Sony were convinced this is top 10, right? But they obviously, you know, fucked up the release. And it's funny because I see CJ McIntyre. I never actually met CJ and had a chat with him. But I saw him a couple of years ago. He was playing somewhere. I bumped into him and I said to him, you remixed one of my tracks, you know, 25 years ago. He goes, which one? I said, you've done a because Lynn Cosgrove signed us. And I said, "You done a Cosmac remix of Defunct Pleasure?" He goes, "Fucking hell, is that you?" Like, we've got chatting and stuff. Because it's funny, it's like stuff you do back then, it does come back around 20 years later, and you go, "Oh shit," and you work things out, you know. It's like, "Oh really?" So yeah, so we got a record deal, and then I got a nice little chunk of money out of it, went and bought the rest of my equipment, and that was it. Back, set up the studio again, and the Soundstage was born. And I started doing my soulful house or my house again. But it was at a transition period between where vinyl was dying a death, MP3 hasn't really taken off yet, and CDs they just didn't serve us for an independent record label. And it was around about the same time that I got married and, you know, ended up watching the demise of this scene where we were making shitloads of money, and then all of a sudden it started to die. And I think the night of the millennium was a turning point. It was one of the major turning points for us because it kind of imploded that night. You know, everyone, the level of greed from the DJs, from the venues, from the promoters, thinking that everyone was prepared to pay £100 for you to go out because it's millennium. And it flopped. I remember Bags calling me at 3 a.m. Where was I playing? We'd done Numb Numbs Millennium Night at Epping Forest Country Club. That was half full. I mean, we got away with it. We were lucky. You know, we had a good party and we got away with it. We didn't take a massive kick in financially. But I was playing for AWOL, Way of Life, at the Ministry of, at the Millennium Dome. And I remember jumping in my car. I didn't get pissed because I had to drive to my next gig. And it must have been about, I think I was playing at 3 a.m. or something, or 4 a.m. And I was on my way down and I got a phone call from Bags saying that we'll close the room.
The exact same thing happened to me. I had 3 gigs in Birmingham, New Year's Eve, and then I had to drive.
Millennium Night, right?
Yeah. I can't even remember what gig I had in London, but I had a big paying gig in London. I've seemed to have erased it from my memory, but I also was drove down there, got there, and it was off. So I ruined my New Year's Eve, and I didn't get the big paycheck that I thought I was going to get.
No one did.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone did. A lot of people got burnt that night because, like I said, it was just greed. You know, DJs were charging 4 or 5 times the amount. Venues wanted £100 to get in.
Shout out to Daz Norman. Daz, you need to get back in touch with me, bro. We've got unfinished business. He said he did the Hammersmith Palais. He said he did Hammersmith Palais with the Dream Team and it was empty. And also,
did you pay him, Daz? Is the question.
Jeremy Braithwaite saying hi. So we're getting loads of people passing through. Okay, so I interrupted you then telling you about my New Year's Eve woes. So the turn of the century, you got married, your vision changes, the focus changes.
It was just disappointment, I think, because that beautiful run we had, just watching what our scene became, you know, and when like, who was big in 2000? Who done
Dream Team were big?
No, I think it wasn't even Drum. The boys done very well out of it. I think there was stuff that when I thought, who done 21 Seconds? What are they called? The
So Solid.
Yeah,
so Solid Crew, Heartless.
Yeah, so
all of those.
What our scene became was that, and it was something like you just watched it morph into this thing where the masses just followed this thing, and you was like sitting there going, "That's not what it was about for us." I mean, even when we set up Bug Recordings, it was
2001. 2001 for me. I couldn't do another UK garage party. I just couldn't.
It was, you know, I mean, even today, I feel like the garage scene, you've got the garage house scene, which is quite nice. It's not, you know, it's 4 to the floor. It's a little bit different, but I feel like the garage sound has never really evolved, or it's always been, or there's nothing new, or there's no one really at the forefront or something. It was like this bit of history that is still here. Yeah. It's like a time. I don't know. It's like it's locked in time. It's like
time capsule.
You can't change it. You can't touch it. You can't mold it. You can't do anything with it. It's just from that period, and it's here today still. And it's the same people playing the same things, doing the same thing. But there's no actual... See, this is why I love the house scene, because we make new music and we'll go and play new music, you know, and we're surrounded by producers, DJs, and that's the beautiful thing. It keeps evolving. It keeps
I want to be the... I want to stick a pin... Not a pin. I want to put a spanner in your argument there, because you've got people who are putting on huge events, putting on their own garage weekenders now. So you know, even though it might be the same sound, but anyway, let's not. Maybe I'm talking from my point of view in London. You know, because that's what it was. Like, yeah, of course, there's things going on. You know, there's other promoters doing other things. But I'm like for me, and it's not me being negative about the garage scene itself. It was like, I can listen to a lot of that garage early stuff. I loved it. You know, what people call garage was not really garage anyway. It was house music. Yeah. But, you know, they've labeled it garage. But then some people call 21 Seconds garage. You know, it's what do you call it? You know, everything's called garage. Is that what's happened to it? Yeah, I get you. Okay, so let's get back to your timeline then. So the marriage and the sound state, the energy, the passion's gone for you. So of course the output starts to wane, and the success. During this time, let's talk about it ever so very briefly. During all of the success, there must have been moments of debauchery, and that would have had its toll. That would have taken its toll on you, right?
Oh, yeah, of course. I think after getting married was a wake-up call. You know, like you said, remember you touched on, as you're getting older, in your late 20s, you start acting like a man, behaving like a man. You know, you calm down a bit. You know, and that's what I did do. I got married. I sold my premises. I said to myself, this is all going to go pear-shaped, all of it. It's just going to go pear-shaped. You know, it was like, I feel like I had a foresight that it was going to go wrong. So I thought I had to sell my... Because I was a bit geeky when it came to engineering and getting involved in engineering, and that digital realm had already started. Like, we're, from a music producer's point of view, you know, we're talking about producing music in digital form. And I used to have a lot of analog equipment in my Bug Studios at the top. Well, it was after Bug Studios actually, when I managed it. I had a lot of analog equipment, and I was saying to myself, this is going to go digital. I need to get rid of this studio. This isn't going to serve me anymore. And got rid of the premises and everything, and then bought a digital setup in my living room. And I really thought to myself that I can work in headphones, which was utter bloody nonsense anyway. And I think I was ahead of the game in the sense that digital wasn't ready. It hadn't advanced enough to be able to go digital completely, because it wouldn't sound right. And it didn't, because the software, the computers weren't as powerful, software weren't as good. You know, everything about it was wrong. So I sold up the studio. Soundstate had parked it up. I think I'd done about 7 or 8 releases on it. You know, I was quite disappointed in the sales figures. In MP3, CDs were the thing, but how do you release on CD? CDJs were just coming out. No one was on USBs. Everyone was burning CDs when they first come out and stuff. So it was this like transition, I think, how we delivered music completely from a music production point of view, and probably from a sales point of view as well. It was tangible at one stage, and then now all of a sudden it was CD, still down, and then like we started doing the MP3s, but the sales for MP3s were pants at the time because it hadn't taken off as well. So I kind of come away from it and started doing some research and got into interiors, because I was buying properties and doing them up and staging them and stuff, and then selling them at the time alongside all this nonsense with the money that I was making, etc. And just got into interiors and that, and then started making money in interiors. And then my daughter was born as well, and I was a completely different man, you know. And I think She was born 2007. So 2010, Mark Williams, still good pal of mine today, still in touch. He was teaching in a school, music. There was this boy in that school, young boy, very, very talented. Came from a family of very talented singers and musicians. And his name was Timothy, or AKA Labrinth. And this lad, Mark took him under his wing. And I remember him bringing him around my house as well, because then I built a studio in my garden. Because obviously the digital thing wasn't for me. It wasn't working. It wasn't right. It didn't sound right. And he was looking after Lab. Lab was like a genius. Like, there was something about this kid. Something big was going to happen for this kid. Like, Mark believed it. I believed it, you know? And then I think it was in 2010, Lab's already produced quite a number of tunes. I was making money from this furniture company, and I started buying boxes like of equipment. And I'm talking, by then, I know my equipment. I was buying GML, SSL, Neve, you know, all these brands, like high-end boutique equipment. And I put it in my studio because that was my passion. I was an engineer. I went back to it. Thought, oh, digital's not ready. This is shit. I didn't believe in digital then. I was a game. So I went and got digital, and it was rubbish. I didn't like it. So I went back to the analog setup. And at the same time, Mark was touting Lab out. He had a bit of interest. And then I think they hooked him up with Tiny Temper. And then Mark phones me up one day and he goes, Lab's done a track with Tiny. He goes, can you mix it for me? I went, yeah. I was, let's do it. So he sent me this track. And I remember putting the files into the computer, and I opened the session and ported these files in. There was like 105 fucking stems. Like, that's a big number of stems. That's not, you know, that's a big number of stems.
And what was the majority of content on them all?
Mate, Lab's a genius. As in, like, but the thing was obviously there was a lack of experience of, say, he was probably bussing down to, like, okay, so you've got lots of different channels of different sounds, right? But you can group them together and then they present you with that group together. So you've got less work to do. These are individual little, it's just mad. Anyway, but when I was listening to it and it was pass out, I was like, fucking hell, this is amazing. Like, it was really amazing. It's like something else. It's a completely different sound. I just started mixing it down. I spent ages making it sound the best that I could make it. You know, panning sounds, adding dub delays, you know, reverbs here, just getting the balance right. And then Mark came in on a session. We just went over it again. Because as a mix engineer, you do that. You get it to where you need to get it to. And then, like, the producers will go, can you make that a little bit louder? You know, you tweak it. Gave it back to them. They gave it to the label. And it was playlisted on Radio 1 A-list. And things just went mad from there. When I say mad, it was just like, Tiny blew up. Then they gave me Frisky. And I remember getting Frisky, and it was like, he had this voice.
You were always Frisky.
Frisky. You know, Lab done it. That's Lab's voice, right? But I put it through this guitar amp, Fermionic. It was this limited edition Fermionic. It was like an effects unit, but it just kind of made this Frisky, it made it sizzle, you know? Because I was so into my equipment, and I can't tell you, I was like sick. I just like loved equipment, you know, I was all over it, and I spent so much money on this equipment. It's beautiful. And I fucking used all of it. There's nothing I didn't use. I'd make sure I used all of it. Anyway, we've done Frisky. That track went to #1. And then Mobo's, you know, Frisky, it got a Mobo award. And then remix for Gorillaz, and I was remixing that. And then Mark said to me, I've got another mix for you. It's like, it's a soundtrack for Demons Never Die. And I was like, okay. And then Island Records got in touch with me. And then I was just like, I was just starting mixing. That was like all I was doing.
And was it without being clearly, going into figures, were you earning good money at this point for it? Or were you just... Yeah. Okay, cool.
Mate, listen, I got an agreement through, a producer's agreement from EMI about 7 months after Tiny's album went to number one, right? So Frisky went to number one. No, Frisky went to number 3. Pass Out went to number 1. Tiny's album went to number 1. And it was number 1. I mean, I got double platinum and gold for that. And about 7 months later, I got the contracts through from EMI for the mixes that I'd done on the album. And I'm not great with contracts and stuff. I don't think I've got the attention span to actually read them, let alone, anything else. But I remember just flicking through it and it said standard producer's production point, 1 point. I was like, what's that? What point? So I sent it to Richie Malone. Phone up Rich. So Rich, I've just sent you the contract. I said, have a look at it, mate. It says I've got a production point. He goes, what? I goes, I've got a production point. He goes, oh, congratulations. What do you mean? I said, what do you mean? He's not just tapping away at his calculator. I'm not going to say figures. Yeah. But, I was like, fucking hell. And then, got a lot of mixed work out of that, charging, so much more than what we do today.
So are we getting to the point of Injustice, or have you skipped over that?
Which Injustice? Which one?
Where you were people trying to steal the limelight and not give you full credit.
So what happened was, I'm not going to name names, right? Mm-hmm. Because I don't need to. But there was somebody else who mixed some other tracks on the album. And so I was out, funnily enough, with Richie Malone. I think we went to Hoxton one night. And we bumped into some guy on the street. And I was hot property at the time as a mix engineer. I was mixing stuff for was it Psycho? Just different, all the majors. I was mixing for everyone, right? And
mute your WhatsApp. Whoever's messaging you, mute it.
No, I need to mute it, don't I? How do I mute this shit? See,
or just close it. Just exit out of your WhatsApp. Because everyone's going, don't tell him about this. Make sure you tell him about that. Shout out to everyone watching as well. We're getting so much feedback and comments. Thank you. Go on.
So we're standing in the street with this guy, and Richie saw this guy, and he knows him. And he said, oh, what's happening? And he said, oh, good, man, we up to? And he goes, oh, this is Jonesy. I said, I think where we were was something to do with Tiny or something. Because there was a lot of events. Is that me?
Yeah. Just quit your WhatsApp. Or is it Messenger? It's either WhatsApp or Messenger. One of them are pinging off.
Right, see, I've done it. And because I was attending a lot of events at a time, because I was getting invited, because I'm part of production. So with Tiny, when he was doing concerts, we were in his dressing room and stuff. When Lab's doing his, things like that. I was always popping out to one of his things. And Richie said, oh, this is Jonesy. He just left, I think it was Lab's thing or Tiny, so I can't remember. And he said, yeah, he mixed Pass Out and Frisky. And this guy turns around and went, you mixed Pass Frisky? Like you? Like this. He goes, Thingy mixed. And he said this name. And I just looked at Rich. I looked at him and went, no, mate. I said to him, that was my work. That was my body of work, not fucking this guy's. And I heard it from about 3 different people. And funnily enough, I had another singer here, massive tune the other day, re-recording her vocals because they're going to re-release it. Who knows this dude? And it come up and she went, yeah, he actually told me that. No, you see?
So it's only bragging rights. It wasn't actually you took any money out of your pocket.
No, but you know what though? If I'm going to talk to you about doing some mix work for you and you said to me, what have you done? I'm not going to say, I do this event in Spain every year. You know, that's not right, is it? You know,
No.
Andy Ward's work is being. I'm going to pass it off as my own.
It's funny you should say that, actually, because I've had that happen to me quite a few times in recent years.
Out there, you know, there's loads of. I mean, listen, there's people out there who are literally ripping other people's music off and putting it out and reselling it. I see it pop up on Facebook now and then, where it's like so and so butchered my track and re-released it as his own. Like, you know, butcher his track, use it as a DJ tool, but don't put it out and claim it to be your own.
Wow, you're starting to get into really familiar territory here. So let's get back to your story then. You've just not long had your daughter. You've been really successful. 2010 times. You still riding the wave? Where's the next hiccup?
I think I kind of like left DJing. I never stopped buying music. I've never, ever stopped buying music. I mean, I've been buying music since a child, you know, and I always bought music, and that was my thing. And then I remember, I can't even remember, if Colin's watching.
Colin's still there.
Yeah. So Cole decided he was going to do deep radio for Grant. Yeah. And I think it was a 2-hour show or something. And we spoke, and it was about me doing an hour of that show for deep radio with Colin. And that's how I got back into the DJing. So I started DJing for Colin. And then my partner, Kevin, my production partner, who Kevin I've known for years. In fact, I met Kevin at Danny Foster's. Danny Foster's had this studio in Tottenham. He's probably spoke about it. I laughed because it had potato sacks all over the walls. And it's probably, if you look carefully, it's like King Edward's on them as well, because it was real potato sack studios kind of thing, right? And that's where I met Kevin. Here you go, Dan, I got your back. I think that was, I was speaking to Kevin the other day, I think that's Timmy Ramjan's premises.
Okay.
That Danny was in back then. I think, again, this is around about the 97, 98 period.
Wow, we're ping-ponging all over the place here. So, yeah. Got back into the DJing for Deep on Colin's show. And I actually remember one of the times as well, you were helping produce Colin's show. Because I remember that, because I remember messaging you about it. I was like, I can't hear him. I can't hear his voice.
Yeah, I think Colin's never been a tech. You know, Colin just does Colin. That's it. I mean, he's never even edited any of his photos. I've got to take my hat off to him. His photos are incredible. I know a lot of photographers, they'll take a picture and then open up, you know, Lightbox or some kind of software and fix it. Colin's is, that's the picture. That's what you're getting. And I think he does the same with his radio shows, exactly the same thing. You know, Cole, you've got to do this, you know, you've got to change your mind. You know, he just does what Colin does. But he got me on the deep with him, and I started doing the show, and I just started getting the love for it back again. And from that moment, I think until to this day, I haven't stopped. And, you know, with Kevin, I said to him, it was like put the band back together again, because we used to do this thing called Soul Stars years ago, which was the early days of Soundstate. And I remember I started, what did I do? So my wife's friend also, who Kevin knows, Marcel, we done this. Remember, I'm still producing in between, yeah, all kinds of things. But this is like a Cafe432 thing, and this is 2013, 14, when we decided I'm going to do it again. Let's go for it again. And I think DJing for Colin may have been later. I don't know. If Colin can tell us when the date was, we started deep.
I think he's actually probably had to go off because he hasn't replied yet. He will come back at some point.
So we done this track. And funnily enough, I gave it to Colin, and he put it on CD. And he took it to no, he didn't. He took it to Croatia for Sunset. And I get this message at 6:30 in the morning. Remember, I've not given this tune to anyone. This is the first Cafe432 track called Waste My Time. And it features Marcel Dupré on it. 6:30 in the morning, I get this text message, and it's Colin. It's a video. of Kerry Chandler playing Waste My Time at whatever the time was, in Barbarella's in Croatia. And I just sat up and I went, fucking hell, how did he get him to play that? You know? And Kerry's sitting there. If you watch the video on YouTube, you can Google it. Kerry's like, and the crowd was having it. And I was like thinking, fucking hell. First person to ever play one of our tracks is Kerry at Barbarella's in Croatia. I was like, I think we're onto something. Fucking what a load of nonsense that. We weren't onto anything. We were on a battle of a love-hate relationship with the house music scene, which I've always had, even in the past. You know, when I'd done house music in early 2000s and was putting it out, I got fucking snubbed by the house fraternity at the time.
Why do you think that is?
Well, you're garage head, in you. You're synonymous with garage. You're not allowed in our. So, what do you mean? I fucking come from your scene. What are you talking about? What? Just because
I built your fucking scene.
I come from your scene. What do you mean? Like, and because I went and played some garage tracks at some event, that wanted to pay me 300, 400 quid a pop, 500 quid, whatever. I'm now not allowed to make house music. You know, and that, you know, it was disappointing because I'm sitting there thinking, mate, I come from house. I dabbled in that. Oh, Grant can get away with it. I can't. You know, there's a lot of snobbery. You know. And started this time round though, started putting out the music. And then we're doing all right. Started building Spotify, just getting it going. But the standard was high. Kevin's a great musician. I'm a great mix engineer. And I say that because that's what we do. You know, I've recorded so many people. I've mixed so much music. He's a musician. It's got amazing to get. We know what we do. Come up with shit, you know. And like, he can go and work with other people. I can do what I'm doing. Especially, it sounds very good. And we just started putting out the music. The returns weren't great, as we all know. You know, we stopped for a little while, and then I start again. And, you know, this is in between mixing music. I mean, I currently mix for other producers. I mix music that I can't say who they are. They're known people. There's tracks that people play out there that I've mixed that they wouldn't know that it's me, because I can't just go around saying, oh, I'll mix that. It's not needed. And that's it. We just started doing the Cafe432 and started working with good singers. I knew a lot of singers from before. I mean, I worked with Vula before. I've written songs with Vula from the early 2000s, got tracks with her. And she's gone on to be one of the best singers in the country, you know. Along the way, I've produced for other people. And things started happening, you know, like little strange little coincidences. I mean, we'd done this track with Brian Chambers a few years ago. And I think he played it to Kathy Brown. And Kathy goes, oh, I like that. I want to jump on and be part of it. So Kathy come to the studio. And then afterwards, we went for dinner. And I was sitting there, Clyde was with Kathy. I'm looking at Clyde thinking, I know this dude from somewhere. Where do I know you from? I've met you before. And he's gone, yeah, I know you as well. And then like Mark William coincidentally phones me. And I'm like, Mark, so look what I'm with. And I showed him Kathy and Clyde. I goes, have I met Clyde before? He goes, you fucking donut. He goes, we done a remix for Kathy about 25 years ago. I brought it down to Camden and she was singing while you was DJing at Numb Numbs. Fucking hell. Like, how can you, like, you know,
yeah.
Kathy's a legend. How'd you forget something like that? No. I was working. Don't be silly. But, you know, it's things like that. And then you work with Kathy and you know, and I remember we were recording Melbourne Moore.
Oh.
Like Melbourne Moore, like that's one of my highlights, I think. Hiring a non-U67. But this is like a 15 grand microphone that was built in the 70s, you know, just to get that authentic sound. Melbourne. And
hold on a minute. Hold on, because I'm losing you a little bit now. Have you unplugged your computer? Because I know you said you were hardwired in before, but
What's happened?
I did see a little notification come up on your screen saying your internet is unstable.
No, it's probably. I think on this computer, I opened something and it's. It tells me.
Close everything then.
I've tried. I think it's some pop up. This is my old Mac, by the way.
No worries. Just look down on the bottom on the taskbar and just right click, quit everything that's got a black dot underneath it, apart from Zoom.
Say that again. You asking me to do something technical with a computer that I have not.
Hold on a minute. You've just told us about 25 years.
We're going through this again, isn't it? We're going to see emails later on as well. That'd be fun.
Okay. Well, we seem to be
By the way, everyone, Andy's built websites for me, and I drive him fucking nuts. And he doesn't have much patience, and he has low levels of tolerance with his clients anyway. So I'm probably one of his special clients, like special needs, because trust me when I tell you, his tone of response sometimes.
Hold on.
When I'm writing that message of help, right?
Used to be.
When he sees my name pop up, he must think, oh, for fuck's sake, like, leave it out.
Actually, the fact that I have so much tolerance for you now and so much patience, and my attitude towards you has changed so much, makes me realize that I am definitely on a fantastic journey of self-discovery, because you've got to admit I'm a different person than I used to be, right?
Shit, man. Yeah, I see you this mornings on Instagram and you're always smiling and you're a happy dude, man. So we all progress in life and become happier and realize that, we're only here for a temporary amount of time and we've just got to enjoy it. And we can't be miserable all the time.
Well, I think we've settled down now. I think your internet has settled down. So we've just that little sidestep. So yeah, we were talking about the success and being with Cafe and the Cafe432 starting to build and build. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, and it's starting to work. Among other things, we're pushing for people, and I think validation accepted is the whole thing in any game.
I can't hear a word. Can't hear a word you're saying. Stop. Stop.
Stop.
I don't know what we can do. What can we do? Come on, we've got to fix this. There's nothing.
Run a minute.
Is your computer hardwired?
I believe so, but let me check. No, it's on Wi-Fi.
I thought you said you plugged it in, so it was on the Ethernet.
Oh, no. It's just connected.
But there's definitely a low connection there. You download. Is your Soul Seek on? Are you downloading all this weekend's hot new tracks?
No.
Zero.
Hey, this isn't like. Look, I had to move studio because when I moved out of the showroom where I was, and I had my studio hardwired in the back, and I'm in somebody else's. I'm renting another studio at the moment until I find. And the Wi-Fi is not most probably like 300 megabyte download speed, which I had at the other place. Is it all right now, or is it still?
It's okay.
Jumping up?
It's not perfect, but try and have a look and see if you've got anything else open. And while you do that, let me just say to everyone, thanks for being here. We're having a bit of fun. Jonesy, we've nearly been chatting for an hour and 45 minutes. Wow. Long time, but people are with us. They're enjoying it. Shout out to Fever Soul. How are you, brother? Dan Gurney, Carol Gold, Mario has been chatting all the way through, telling you to turn the porn off. Jimmy Mack is with us. Mickey C is saying he's definitely downloading all of the hot tracks for the Easter gigs. And Candice McKenzie, hello, how are you? She says, fantastic conversation.
Hey.
I've been glitching myself this afternoon. I don't know what the problem is. Just gremlins, but I think we're sorted now. So we're getting to the timeline. We have really had a great chat. we've dissected many things, but we're just starting to get to the ascendance of Cafe432. So I need to take you back to where we were. Everything looks to have settled down now. Yeah.
Okay. Where was we? We were talking about.
We were talking about how things were starting to pick up. Brian, Kathy.
Oh yeah, just bumming at Cafe. We recorded Melba at the time. I mean, if ever, like nowadays, if I see one of these singers, I recently worked with Barbara Tucker, but I love asking questions because these people have amazing, incredible stories. Like Kevin and I were sitting in the studio and watching Melba warm up her vocal cords was something else. I've never seen anything like it, because she's in her 70s and we've recorded some amazing singers, like, world-class singers who are so on point. And Melba's come in and she's a beautiful soul, Melba. She's a lovely woman, like genuinely. And I think I said to her, do you want something to warm up your vocals? Because some singers go, I want warm water, some want a tea, some
honey.
And Melba's gone, give me a coffee and some apple juice. So, okay. So Paul ran out, got a coffee for her and apple juice, and she proceeded to pour the apple juice into the coffee and then drank it, right? And then she got behind the mic, what sounded like an old lady behind the mic, just being honest. And I looked at Kevin and I was like, oh, shit. And Melba was talking in third person. I know you're in there. Doing all these these vocal exercises, And they were wild. Like she was making some noises, like some alien movie or something. It was just wild. And this went on for like 20, 25 minutes because we were waiting for her to warm up so we could record her. And we were co-written this song for her. And then all of a sudden, her voice arrived. She's like, there you go. Fucking belting. I was like, oh my God. I was thinking, wow. It's incredible. Like, the legend. You're in your 70s and you can sing like that. And like we recorded her, and afterwards, Kevin and I were sitting talking to her. And I was fascinated by her. Her story's incredible. She had hits in the Billboard charts. We weren't even born yet.
Uh-huh.
That's how long this woman's been around. And never got the recognition she deserved. And I mean, Kevin were like, yeah, well, we're working with Jocelyn Brown. And she goes, Jocelyn? She goes, oh, my ex-husband who's in prison gave her first recording contract. I was like, fucking hell. You can't, like, how do you have conversations like this where you're hearing stuff like that? So if ever you come across a legend, talk to them, because I tell you what, they'll drop some stuff on you, which just blows you away. I was like,
well, to be fair, mate, you're not doing too bad in dropping some stuff yourself on the people.
Well, it's even when we have worked with Jocelyn Brown, we've done a remix project. Well, Kay was working on this other project and he said, I want a house remix. So we've done some stuff and I ended up in Jocelyn Brown's kitchen.
Do your camera thing.
I ended up in Jocelyn Brown's kitchen and she made us coffee and we were talking about Simon Cowell, who managed her. So, when you do get to work with legends, the conversations are just incredible, But the Cafe432 story is just, it keeps growing and growing and growing. And you just start working with amazing singers. I think I had an interview with Ronnie Harrell. We've become close friends. I met him. I've known Ronnie years actually on the circuit. Like met him a few years, like quite some time ago. It was when I went to Croatia. So after my divorce is when I really started getting out and about a bit more. And I think networking is one of the key things to progress. If you don't network, if you don't go out to these venues, if you don't go to these events, if you don't go and listen to what's going on, you're not going to progress. You have to do it.
That's very wise words. I've not heard anybody say that in a long time. And it's not a coincidence. You saying that, it isn't a coincidence that you're rubbing shoulders, getting in people's faces. There's that old cliche, the harder you work, the luckier you get. It's, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not, and Ronnie nailed it. I think even in the interview, because what happened was with Ronnie, Ronnie's head of programming at my soul, right? And you'd think you're going to get a favor because you're mates with him. Nah, don't work like that. He is, if your shit's good, it'll get played. And if it's no good, forget it. Doesn't matter whether you know him or not. So you can have the best music in the world and know nobody. No one's going to hear it. You can know everyone and your music is not up to standard. No one's going to hear it. But if you know everyone and your music's great, things will start happening for you. And that's how it works. And so seeing at home, like I've seen a few rants from DJs saying, oh, he hasn't booked me and da-da-da. That's, you can't bitch about what somebody else hasn't offered you. You know, if someone offers me anything, I'm grateful, even for the consideration. That's it. You know, but there's a lot of people who feel like, you know, I deserve this. I should have this. I've been around this long. I've been around. No, it doesn't work like that. Disciple, again, Dave Banks, we've had this conversation. And he said something to me which rings true as well. And I've seen this. When it's somebody else's turn, you be the bigger man, step back and you help them have their turn. You know? And I do it. I support a lot of our producers. I'll big them up because I look at what they do and I sit there and I think, you know what? You're good at what you do. You deserve the shout out. You know? There's no, I don't look at anyone and feel jealous or anything. Nothing like that. You know, if you love what you do, you're not the only person doing it. And you've got to always applaud and give props to people who are doing it. I think the negative side of it is if you start feeling like, you know, you deserve this and you deserve that. And I think we're more mature now, we're older, we're wiser, and we love what we do. And we appreciate everyone who supports what we do. And that's the thing, you know, that brings me comfort. If no one listened to it, it still wouldn't hurt me. If everyone listened to it, I'm grateful. Thank you very much. And the last few years, I think since like I met people like Ronnie and, you know, just lovely people who support what you do, you know, because they think you're, you know, they know you're good. Not they think you're good, they know you're good. So they support you. And I'm the same. I support people who are great at what they do. I always will. I don't have that. But when I see people bitching and moaning, I'm like, that's not the right attitude to have. You know, You'll get love if you give love, you know. And yeah, lately we're getting a lot of love. And I really do, like, trust me, when I have so many people messaging me on Instagram, I love this tune. It's on repeat. And I'm like, I respond to every single one. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Probably about 4 days later, but he does respond.
No, I do, man. I do. And, you know, playing on my soul recently as well has been a beautiful thing because I've been listening to my soul for years. It's the station I listen to. It's my go-to station sort of thing. So the DJing gigs are coming in. I'm busy DJing, you know, and my life's changed again. It's like I'm back in the 90s. Working every week, doing music all the time, working with other producers. It's like my life's gone round and I'm now back doing all music again. So I'm grateful for that because it's loving what you do is the best thing, isn't it?
It is, most definitely. And you're also now rubbing shoulders and, as you say, giving other people a sort of like a helping hand. And let's not name them because I'm sure we'll miss some of them out, but there's a big batch of young DJs now coming through who are making a lot of noise at a lot of the parties that I see you with them in DJ booths and, you know, good pals and whatever. You're going to know who I'm talking about. They're the future of the sound, right?
I think we're always going to have, listen, there's people who've been around for a while who haven't had their day, but they're still there. You know, I think if you really want to stand out, and this is what Colin nailed it when I was getting back into the DJ, and he said, what's going to make you different? How are you going to be a different DJ to everybody else? Everyone can go and buy music. Everyone can go and buy a set of decks. Everyone can call themselves a DJ. What's going to make you special? And I was like, yeah, it's true. What is going to make me special? And I've always struggled. And this is the sad thing. Someone said to me, maybe it's because you're there's a level of humbleness in you, which we find later in life as we grow older. We become more humble, whether you like it or not. You can't keep being this arrogant, I know it all kind of person. I've always struggled to play my own music, especially in the early days. And I remember bumping into Terry Hunter at 51st State because he'd done a remix of Bobby and Steve's Welcome to the Real World. And I'd done a remix of it again. I actually done this remix 24 years ago, for Bobby and Steve. It was a massive tune for them on Zoo Groove Records back then under my Soul Stars name. And I found the vocals and I'd done another remix and that. And then I said to Terry Hunter and I said to him, I just struggle playing my music. And he said, no, he goes, you have to play your own music. And now I do. Now I'll play my own remixes. Now I'll do edits. Now I'll do bootlegs. I'll switch it up because now I'm feeling a bit more confident. Because when you've got like boys like the Journeymen who are big hitters at the moment, dropping free your tracks at Southport. I mean, the last Southport, every DJ in the powerhouse, every single one played one of my tracks, including Louis Vega at the end of the night. And to hear that, it's like, oh, fucking Jesus. Have I kind of arrived at, production heaven or something, producer heaven or something, but I have started confidently now playing my own music. It took a while. And someone said to me, the reason why you don't is because you feel a little bit ashamed of the fact that people might go, oh, plays his own music. People are like, oh, he's just playing his own music all the time, and you don't want to be labelled like that. But the thing is if you can play your own music, play your own music. I think I've got enough. Our catalogue's pretty big now. Yeah. And we get playlists and, got people like Louis Vega charting it, Morales, got all these people. But for me, it's just not about them. It's about all the other boys that play your music. Because there's far more of them than there is of these 3 or 4 big names that play your stuff. I mean, it's great because you get that validation. But for me, it's more important is the DJs that do the radio shows here, there and everywhere in different parts of the world and stuff. Because there's hundreds and hundreds of them, thousands of them. And they have their little audiences. And those little audiences add up to a hell of a lot of people. Beautiful. So we're getting out there slowly.
Well, I'll say slowly, you're definitely riding high. We've been meaning to have this conversation for quite a while. I know you're getting out to some big gigs and, you would have been playing in Spain if you'd have got your arse in gear a long time ago. You kept threatening it, but we won't talk about that now.
Listen, Colin, I'll tell you, for the amount of times Colin said, get your arse out there or go over there. I'm like, you know what, I will. Listen, when I was married, it was difficult. Everything's difficult when you're married, because the relationship.
Well, not necessarily.
You have when I mean difficult, I'm talking about you can't pursue dreams or whatever. Like nowadays, I'm like, listen, do you want a gig in blah? We've got to fly out in 3 weeks' time. I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. Because I'm not tied down to that. I don't have to phone anyone and say, listen, do you mind if I can pop out the country for a few days? Don't have to ask anyone that. So for me, I'm ready to go,
So the takeaway from that is anybody that wants to book Cafe432, they should definitely get in touch with him. So listen, 2 hours we've been sat here chatting. I think we've only lost about 60 seconds of dodgy connection. We've 100% skipped over so much factual
we missed out a lot.
Information.
We really did. It was like there's big gaps and stuff. I mean, being involved in music over this many decades, how do you talk about everything? How do you? You can't. I mean, I'm sitting here even thinking, I know most probably I'll go away from this and go, oh, we didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about that. We didn't mention this. It's going to happen.
It is what it is. I think we've done a great picture of painting. We've done a great job of painting a picture of who you are, how you got to be at the top of your game, and why you're back again with this new lease of life. And it's clear that you're very well loved out there. Everyone's been glued to the chat. And
I appreciate it. I really do.
I'm sure we're going to get a lot more comments, you know, because it's Thursday afternoon. Most people are at work. We get a lot more people watching these. I mean, I'm wrapping it up purely because we're two hours in. We could easily chat for hours more.
Yeah, we go for hours.
Arkin is definitely a gentleman that you can slide up to at a party and have a conversation with him. He's a very, very nice guy.
Listen, I talk to anyone. Like I said, I get youngsters hitting me up. There's youngsters and there's youngsters. You know, like there's the 20-somethings, and they'll hit you up and say, "Oh, do you do DJing lessons and stuff like that?" And words of encouragement and stuff. You know, just telling people to practice and things. But everyone's got to support each other. You can't, if you're a hater in any shape or form, just forget it, and do support people, because if I see someone who's going to do better than me, and when I say do better than me, become more successful, etc., in the field, I'll help them get there if I can. I'm not, you know, and I think there's love in this relationship that I have with the music. I love it, and I love everybody that contributes into it in one shape or another, and that's why I support talent. I'll always support talent, and I appreciate when people support me if they can see the talent in myself. But I don't do it for the validation or adulation. I do it because it's a passion, you know. And like yourself, you're still talking to people. You know, you say I don't DJ, but you're still DJing and still dabbling and stuff like that. But you know, it's a passion, man. It's an absolute passion. All those records behind you says a lot. It says a lot about your life. And like, you know, if I died tomorrow, I've enjoyed every minute of it. You know, I've enjoyed every minute of it. And maybe, listen, at the moment now, I'm enjoying the DJing a lot, because it's reminiscent of the 90s. You know, when you've got a couple of thousand people in front of you having it, and to be able to still do that today after all these years. And I'm lucky. And the other thing is the other benefit of being married and not going out and not going to all these venues, I've actually managed to preserve my hearing. You know, I've got good hearing for my age. I can still pick up frequencies that 25-year-olds do, you know, through hearing tests and stuff. Because people don't realise, man, clubbing and going out and stand. I always say, but don't stand in front of speakers. Don't, like me, I'll go out. I'll be like, if I'm in shot of the speaker, I'll move out the way deliberately, because I am fully aware, because tinnitus and etc. amongst a lot of my friends exists. So yeah, don't stand in front of speakers. There you go.
There you go. That's what he's leaving you with. That's what he's leaving you with out of this whole conversation. Right, listen. I'm going to say thank you, mate. Respect to you. I've loved this. A lot of it I already knew, but it was beautiful to actually be reminded of it. And, you know,
keep up doing what you're doing.
I will.
You're a happy fucker every morning walking along the back. I'm jealous, because you're sitting there filming yourself. It's pissing down with rain outside, right? I'm in a windowless studio, and you're just, you know, having a little trek down the beach, you know, show us the sea. I'm like, oh, fucking hell. That's how you live. That's how you need to live. You need to live like Andy Ward, right? Because this guy's got a smile on his face and he walks along the beach every morning.
That's a T-shirt. Live like Andy Ward. Right, I'm going to press this button. I'm going to kick you off. Respect, mate.
Thank you very much, man. Take care.
One love.
Thanks.
How good was that? How good was that, right? My apologies for some intermittent signal. We got through it. On the screen, as you can see, we got people on Facebook, we got people on YouTube. I did toy with the idea of throwing these comments up while I'm talking live, but the problem is it would just detract from the conversation. And as you know, as you're commenting, I do my best to read them all. So let me scroll back up and see what I've missed. Everybody's been passing through. I tried to say hi. People who have recently joined us, Brother C, hello mate, throwing up the clapping hands, thank you for that. Michael Soulhouse Avenue was commenting throughout, respect to you, and Jody as well. It was nice to have you with us, Jody, someone who would definitely relate to a lot of those stories from back in the day as well. You did play a big part in it. I got there in the end. Candice as well. And yes, these are recorded on YouTube, also on my Facebook. We do get quite a few views over both of those channels. It's not reflected immediately in the viewing figures, but that doesn't matter. These videos are archived for all time. Thank you so much. Everybody who joins me on a weekly basis will be aware that we have the Access crew, a mighty army of people who give without expecting anything in return. A tenner a month. We are actually building a well in Africa at the moment. So all of these boys and girls are doing amazing things. Respect to them. It's truly, truly appreciated. And as you just heard, Arkin has been a very happy client of Ward's websites down the years. And if you can find me a website client, I'll be happy to give you 50 quid finding fee. That's me done.